We would like to send our warmest greetings to all of our beloved viewers, those who have always accompanied, shared, and given their wholehearted love to the reality channel of Lytutien's family. In the footage of our previous episode, each of us must have experienced a complete roller coaster of emotions, a journey filled with joy, laughter, and even tears of happiness. It was the sacred moment when Mother Loy, after a long and grueling period of over 40 days and nights of immense separation, officially stepped foot back into her old home. She returned to the familiar farm space, welcomed by the warm, loving embrace of her children and the devoted, meaningful support of Uncle Dung. The image of the new wooden house is gradually taking shape. Although it has only stopped at the erection of the pillars and the sturdy structural framework, that alone was enough to light up a brilliant hope, promising a peaceful, smooth, and sustainable future for the entire family. However, life in the wild countryside and the days tied to farming have never been a bed of roses. That peaceful farm inherently harbors unexpected challenges, harsh tests with which Mother Nature in this foreign land tries human endurance. Right in the upcoming footage, a major, turning point incident, filled with drama and tension, yet serving as the very catalyst that ignites deeply touching family values, is about to crash down upon the poor thatched home of this family of four. When night fully fell, swallowing the vast space of the Midland region, the once peaceful sky suddenly changed its appearance rapidly and terrifyingly. Across the expanse, the massive farm began to transform under a violent storm, with the wind howling in gusts that ripped through the silence of the night. Thunder and lightning rolled continuously, slashing piercing blue streaks across the pitch-black sky. Immediately after, a catastrophic downpour, with raindrops as large and heavy as a torrential deluge, began to pelt the earth. Huddled inside the old house, listening to the fierce wind screeching through every crevice of the door, Jack and Uncle Dung felt their anxieties burning like fire, as if sitting on a bed of hot coals. The greatest concern for the two men at this moment was the construction site outside, where the new wooden house had only just finished its basic load-bearing frame. Right next to that structure, a massive amount of assets, including a pile of first-rate precious timber, the load-bearing purlin system, and the entire wall cladding material that had just been delivered by truck late this afternoon, still lay exposed in the open ground. Due to the tight schedule, all of these precious building materials had not yet been thoroughly and safely covered or protected against the onslaught of the weather. Anxiety was clearly etched onto Uncle Dung's face, which was deeply lined by the passage of time. He was restless, constantly pacing back and forth by the windowsill, looking out at the white sheet of rain that was blurring everything from sight. The seasoned and experienced man understood that if this situation persisted, the immense wind force combined with the rainwater soaking deep inside would completely warp the structure, causing shrinkage and twisting across all the natural wood grain. Not only that, but the precious seed garlic batches and a series of building materials scattered on the other side for the completion of the project were also at risk of being completely ruined, going down the drain if timely countermeasures were not taken. Despite the pitch-black darkness outside and the gusts of wind carrying the bone-chilling cold of the high mountains, the two men, the main pillars and steady anchors of the family, did not hesitate to make a swift decision. They hurriedly threw on flimsy raincoats, gripped their flashlights with faint beams of light, and rushed straight out into the construction area, which was submerged under the torrential downpour. They set out to inspect and try to secure the large tarpaulins to cover and protect the family and Oppo's valuable assets. Seeing the hardship and danger surrounding the men, Mother Loy and Tien could not just sit idly by inside the warm house. The two resilient women quickly lit a large torch, defying the danger to rush out into the stormy weather. One tried to hold down a corner of the tarp to lend a hand, while the other anxiously watched every step and action of Jack and Uncle Dung amidst the slippery mud puddles that could sink at any moment. As the night grew later, the wind speed seemed to intensify manifold. Continuous, fierce gusts of cold air roared, accompanied by terrifying, rumbling noises echoing from the distant forest. Although the structural design of the newly erected wooden house frame was calculated to be extremely solid, due to the nature of the construction, which only had the skeleton frame without any surrounding wind-blocking walls, the entire system of pillars and rafters had to brace itself to directly bear each violent vortex screeching through. In a fateful moment, as Uncle Dung was straining his entire rain-drenched body to drive down an iron stake to secure the large tarp covering the finished lumber pile, a sudden whirlwind swept right through the heart of the farm. The terrifying force of the vortex ripped up the thick tarp, creating a massive jerking force that caused a large wooden pillar, weighing hundreds of kilograms and temporarily erected nearby awaiting assembly, to lose its inherent balance, crashing down under its own momentum. A blood-curdling, heartbreaking scream of sheer terror from Mother Loy pierced through the roaring wind and rain as she witnessed the impending disaster. However, everything happened in the blink of an eye. No one could react in time to the violence of this natural accident. The heavy wooden pillar plunged straight down from above, landing squarely on Uncle Dung and Appo's leg, causing the robust man to collapse onto the muddy ground in excruciating pain, unable to budge or move even a fraction of an inch. The entire scene at the farm construction site instantly fell into a state of utter chaos, panic, and overwhelming dread. Jack's face immediately turned pale, drained of all color from the sheer shock of his beloved uncle's accident. Without a second thought, he rushed straight to Uncle Dung and Appo's position, exerting all his might and the muscles of a sturdy young man accustomed to year-round labor to lift the heavy log off the victim and Appo's leg. Meanwhile, Mother Loy and Tien choked back tears in helplessness and heartbreak. They rushed over, kneeling in the mud to support his body, which was trembling with pain. Although his face was distorted and sweat mingled with pouring rainwater due to the bone-shattering agony, Uncle Dung still forced a weak, twisted smile to reassure them, hoping the family would not worry too much. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jack immediately pulled his mobile phone from his coat pocket, his trembling hands hurriedly dialing the emergency hotline to call for an ambulance. Yet, fate seemingly wanted to prolong the harsh sequence of trials for this small family, as hardships continued to pile upon hardships. Due to the massive accumulation of rainwater, the single dirt road leading from the main highway deep into the farm, which was already muddy and difficult to navigate on regular days, had now turned into deep, treacherous, and slippery quagmires, as if defying anyone to pass. Even with its emergency lights flashing, the ambulance continuously encountered numerous obstacles along the way. The driver had to struggle intensely, straining against the steering wheel just to inch forward into the internal area. That agonizing wait for medical assistance felt like centuries to the four family members. Everyone and Appo's heart skipped a beat, filled with restless anxiety, as they could only clasp their hands and pray that Uncle Dung had not suffered injuries too severe to affect his bones, joints, or his life. The bond between the family members in this life or death moment became tighter than ever, opening up a series of deeply humane events and sacrifices in the upcoming developments as the ambulance fought its way through the thick mud to reach the house. After all of Jack and Appo's untiring efforts in guiding the way and supporting them amidst the pitch-black night, coupled with the dedication and urgency of the emergency medical team, the ambulance finally overcame the muddy, slippery stretches of road to safely deliver Uncle Dung to the district hospital. The moment they arrived, Uncle Dung was immediately transferred to the X-ray room for a thorough preclinical screening and examination to accurately determine the extent of damage to his musculoskeletal system after the violent impact with the massive wooden pillar. Following a period of intense and anxious waiting by the family members, the head physician stepped out of the examination room and announced incredibly joyful news. Fortunately, due to the angle of the falling log and thanks to partial shielding from the surrounding materials, The most severe damage was limited to deep bruising and crushing of the muscles and soft tissues, along with a few mild ligament strains. The entire bone structure of his lower leg, as well as his vital joints, remained completely intact, totally free of any fractures or splinters as initially feared. Hearing this, the family of 4 could finally breathe a deep sigh of relief, feeling as though a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted, an invisible yet terrifying psychological pressure that had weighed heavily on their minds for hours ever since the horrific incident occurred amidst the rainstorm. Once the extreme anxieties regarding his health had temporarily passed, the space inside the district hospital room that night became extraordinarily peaceful, completely shutting out the howling sounds of the storm outside. All that remained was the faint, rhythmic sound of the intravenous drip slowly trickling down the tube to enter the patient and Oppo's body. Understanding the psychological state and recognizing the special bond between the 2 elders, Jack and Tien were incredibly perceptive. They tactfully and proactively excused themselves to the hallway outside on the pretext of preparing additional personal items, buying warm water, and rearranging the necessary belongings for the hospital stay, thereby leaving the entire private, quiet space for Mother Loy to keep watch and care for Uncle Dung right by his bedside. In the faint yellow nightlight of the hospital room, looking at the brave man who, out of deep concern for protecting the future home of her children and the safety of their shared assets, had disregarded danger to rush into the heart of the storm only to meet with an accident. Looking at his hair flecked with gray from the passing years and his weathered, rugged face, Mother Loy could not contain the powerful surge of emotion rising in her chest. Tears of deep empathy and heartbreak silently rolled down her gaunt cheeks. In that sacred and deeply understanding space, she gently sat down at the edge of the bed and reached out to hold Uncle Dung and Oppo's rough hand, calloused from years of wind, frost, and farm work. And then, for the first time after so many long years of hiding her deepest thoughts and feelings in the depths of her heart, she decided to open her soul and pour out all her innermost emotions and truest thoughts. Choking back tears, she shared her utter terror upon witnessing the moment the wooden pillar collapsed, as well as her profound admiration and boundless gratitude for the hardships and sacrifices that this man had silently made for her and her children since the day she decided to leave the bustling city behind to return to her homeland, and then together venture up to this farm to build a new life. Both of them had lived through more than half their lives, and both had tasted so much bitterness, sweetness, ups and downs of fate. Therefore, what she longed for the most now was not luxurious material wealth, but simply that he would always maintain good health, so that from now on, the 2 of them could stand by each other's side as a solid spiritual anchor, a warming lighthouse guiding the journey of their children and Oppo's maturity. Listening to the sincere confession from the very bottom of the heart of the woman he had secretly loved for so long, Uncle Dung and Oppo's eyes suddenly lit up with boundless happiness. A new surge of vitality seemed to make him forget all the physical agony torturing him. He slowly used his remaining strength to gently squeeze Mother Loy and Oppo's hand as a deeply committed response. At the twilight of their lives, when time is no longer long and all of life and Oppo's storms have been weathered, they understood that they no longer needed grand, earth-shattering vows or flowery, ceremonial promises. Instead, the most precious and sacred thing was a profound mutual understanding, a warm handhold to share warmth in times of adversity, and a sincere, rustic, yet enduring affection for one another, which was more than enough to walk through the rest of their days. Meanwhile, standing outside the transparent glass door of the hospital room and looking in, both Tien and Jack were stunned into silence, deeply moved by that quiet scene which contained the immense power of love. A completely fulfilled smile bloomed simultaneously on the lips of the 2 young people as they realized something incredibly meaningful. From now on, their newly forming wooden house would not only be warmed by the brilliant young love of youth, but also nurtured, sheltered, and blessed by a beautifully fulfilled, sacred, and complete late-blooming romance between Mother Loy and Uncle Dung. Just like the natural law of creation, after the rain comes the sun, and the terrible storm of today had inadvertently become a wonderful catalyst, a necessary trial to make the family bond and the connection between its members even tighter and unshakable. Dear viewers, how do you feel about this highly anticipated, surprising, and touching storyline for the upcoming journey of our characters? Will the sincere love of Mother Loy and Uncle Dung, which has overcome so many trials and tribulations, truly blossom and bear fruit with a beautiful, blissful ending under the warm, new wooden roof of the farm? Please remember to click the subscribe button on our channel today so you and oppos miss any upcoming episodes, and to follow the highly attractive, dramatic, and family-oriented developments of Lytutien and oppos' family in the near future. Your support is the greatest motivation for our family. Thank you all so much for always listening and sharing.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người video tiếp theo về tiếp diễn về nội dung câu chuyện của Tự Tiên và Giác nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng đã biết là vì khó khăn về kinh tế nên là Giác đã phải bán nông trại mình đi, và anh cũng rất là may mắn khi mà bán lại thì người mua lại là bố Phượng, bố chồng cũ của Tự Tiên, nhưng mà cũng được coi như một người vô cùng thân thiết với Tự Tiên. Và anh thì bố Phượng đã cho anh mượn một số tiền rất lớn để giải quyết khó khăn khi anh gặp phải ở công ty. Thì tiện đây thì Giác cũng để lại cái nông trại mà mình tâm huyết cùng sống và Tự Tiên cho bố Phượng. Thì anh và Tự Tiên đã xây dựng một căn nhà gỗ ở một miếng đất cũng ở trong khu vực vườn đấy, ở gần đấy. Thì hôm nay khi mưa gió thì bác Dũng đã không may bị thương, và sau khi chứng kiến được tình cảm của mẹ Lợi và bác Dũng thì liệu Giác và Tự Tiên sẽ làm gì tiếp theo? Liệu hai người bố mẹ đấy có về chung một nhà hay không thì mời đón xem tập sau nhé. Tạm biệt mọi người.